Hello students, this is Sir Murtaza and welcome you to another lecture of physics. So let's start. So here, what is the agenda for this lecture video? The agenda is we are going to discuss the following SLOs. The SLO is discuss the effect on the passengers on a vehicle in terms of force and inertia when when a vehicle starts moving suddenly, stops moving suddenly, turns a corner to the left suddenly. Okay, now in this SLO or in this lecture video, what we are going to discuss, we are going to discuss the effect on the passengers, okay, on a vehicle in terms of force and inertia. Vehicle may be a car, a bus, anything, okay, when it starts moving suddenly. For example, you have experienced this definitely, that if you are sitting in a bus, for example, and suddenly if the bus starts, so you will be having some reaction. Okay, in this lecture we will be talking about that reaction. Or for example, if a bus is moving and suddenly it applies the brake and stops, so what is our reaction? We will talking this in this lecture. And finally, for example, if we are moving in a straight path and suddenly the bus take a sharp turn to the left, so what is your reaction? So in this lecture we will be talking about these three different reactions. Okay, now first, effect on the passengers when a vehicle starts moving suddenly. So we have observed that when a bus starts suddenly, the passengers standing in a bus fall backward because the upper part of their bodies tends to continue to rest while the lower part of their body is in contact with the bus, which is in motion. Now, this is our first case. We will be talking about the effect on the passengers when a vehicle starts moving suddenly. So you have experienced that, for example, if you are standing, here is a figure. For example, if you are standing like this, okay, and you are at rest, suddenly if the car starts, so what happens is you fall backward. Okay, this is, we have observed that when a bus starts suddenly, the passengers standing in a bus fall backwards. Okay, why they fall backwards? Because the upper part of their bodies tends to continue at rest, because the upper part of the body tends to at rest because it is at rest, but the lower part of the body is in contact with the bus, which is in motion. So this is the reason that we fall backward when suddenly a car starts moving. Okay, so this is our first case in which we have studied that whenever a bus starts moving suddenly, so we fall backwards. Okay, now the second case is effect on the passengers when a vehicle stops moving suddenly. Okay, in the first case we have talked about when the vehicle moves suddenly. In this case we will be talking about when it stops suddenly. So what happens is, we have observed that when a bus stops suddenly, the passengers in the bus falls forward because the upper part of the body tends to continue their motion, while lower part of the body is in contact with the bus, which is at rest. Okay, so here is again a figure. For example, this bus is moving suddenly. If the signal gets red, so this driver have to apply brakes, and due to which the bus stops moving. So what happens is, you can see that there are 5 passengers standing in this bus. They all have fall forward. Okay, so why they have fall forward? So here we can understand this, that we have observed that when a bus stops suddenly, passengers in the bus fall forward. Why? Because the upper part of the bodies tends to continue their motion. Okay, the upper part of our bodies tends to continue in motion, but the lower part of our body, which is in contact with the bus, which is at rest. So this is the reason that our lower part remains at rest, but the upper part of our body falls forward. Okay, so this is our second effect when the bus stops moving suddenly. Okay, now the final case, effect on the passengers when a vehicle turns a corner suddenly. Okay, or you could say that the vehicle takes a sharp turn. So what happens is, when a bus takes a sharp turn, the passengers falls in the outward direction. Okay, why? Because they want to continue their motion in a straight line and thus fall outwards. Now what happens is, now for example, if you are moving in a bus, for example, or a car, just suppose that this is a bus, and suddenly if this bus takes a sharp turn towards left. So what happens is our motion will be in the outward direction, which is on the right hand side. Okay, so why this is because that because they want to continue the motion in a straight line and thus falls outwards. So I have a graph here. Okay, here you can just imagine that, for example, a bus is moving, for example, here in a straight path. Suddenly it takes a sharp turn to the left. So what happens is our motion would be in the outward direction, which would be in the right hand side. Okay, so this is our third effect. Third effect was if we take a sharp turn, for example, in the right hand side, so we will fall on the left hand side. And if, for example, we have taken a turn on the left hand side, so we will move on the right hand side. Okay, so this is it for this lecture video. Hopefully you have understood this lecture. We'll meet you very soon in our next lecture video. Till then, Allah Hafiz.